good morning, YouTubers. This is the ShallowCross Sports Network with the Double A coming to you with another show. Today we're going to talk about the 2025 NFL Draft, and we're going to talk a little about the Tennessee Titans and what they're doing in the draft. And then also, in addition to the NFL draft, I'm gonna have my mock draft set up for you, and also I'm gonna let you in on my top players for the 2025 NFL draft, which is coming up on the 24th of April through the 26th of April. And so I think the first round starts on Thursday night, the 24th, with the first round, and then the second and third rounds is on Friday night or Friday afternoon with a second and third. And then, of course, you got the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round, and the compensatory picks all on Saturday. And I think that'll kick off around about 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock Eastern time in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So with that said, don't forget to like and subscribe and to share. And we're going to get right on into it. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are getting closer to making a decision on who they're going to pick in this year's draft. And it's still trade talks with some teams, but I really do believe the Titans are going to pick Cam Ward overall, number one overall. And I think it may be a done deal by now. And then what the Titans is probably going to do is go in that second round and either get an offensive lineman or a wide receiver with that second pick. Now, they don't have a third pick, so you could see some movement with a seventh round pick trade or a sixth round pick trade to move back up into the third round. But that's what it's looking at. It's looking like Cam Ward. And of course, in an earlier show, I told you who I thought the first 3 or 4 picks were going to be. And we'll get right on into that too. So first off, we're going to show you talk a little bit about the free agents that the Titans have picked up. They picked up Dan Moore, offensive tackle, transfer. Well, he signed from Pittsburgh, and he started all the games for Pittsburgh last year. And then we picked up Van Jefferson, who is affiliated with the Titans, and he played high school football over in Brentwood, Tennessee, at Brentwood High. And then his father also played for the Titans and was a coach for the Titans at one time. And then they picked up safety Xavier Woods. They picked up an offensive guard, Kevin Zeter. I think he came from the Detroit Lions. And then they picked up defensive end Dermont Jones. And they picked up a punter, Johnny Hekker. And I think it's a linebacker in there somewhere too. And of course, the Titans lost some players that they didn't sign fast enough. But I think we picked up a defensive back, I think yesterday. Let me see. They picked up a defensive back yesterday, and thought I had that information for you, but maybe I misplaced it. But anyway, I'll research that and get that information for you. But it was a defensive back they picked up who actually played for the Titans during the preseason, and then he was cut and played for another team in the NFL, and now they picked him back up with the Titans, and it was a linebacker they picked up also in free agency. So they've been fairly active in free agency this past couple of weeks or so since free agency opened up. But getting to that, I'm gonna pull up my top running backs and just give you a look at all the players that I think are the highly rated players, and but anyway, just looking at the top quarterbacks, Cam Ward is my number one quarterback, and the measurements are from the combine, and so Cam Ward's number one. Shadur Sanders is number two. Kyle McCord, I have him rated as the third overall quarterback at this time, but before the draft, I think I'm gonna probably move Jackson Dart up into that spot. Jalen Milroe is moving up the ladder, and he's probably going to be a second rounder. He could slide to the third rounder. Will Howard, just listening to some of the media experts and the football analysts who were scouts at one time, Will Howard's probably going to be a third rounder or fourth rounder. Kyle McCord, I'm looking at second round for Kyle McCord. And of course, Tyler Show from Louisville, he's moved up quite a bit, and so he could go anywhere between the second and third round. But some of these other players that I have listed here, it's no way to tell where they're going to go, especially when you're dealing with quarterbacks. But that's the top 12. And now let's switch over to the running backs. Running backs, I got Ashton Genty as my number one running back. He's probably the most dynamic running back in the draft. Very good inside runner. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He knows how to follow his blocking real well. And then, of course, Dylan Sampson is my number two running back, but I think he's probably going to get moved out of that position. I think the pro scouts are looking at Omar Hamilton from North Carolina as being the number two back in the draft. And then, of course, Trey Henderson is also moving up the ladder. So when my next draft ratings come out, I'm going to move those guys up. But there's a wealth of talent at the running back position this year in the draft. Most of these kids are going to play in the NFL. They're good running backs. They all have different traits. And it's a kid named Martinez that's not on my list, but I'm going to move him into that list. He's a very good running back from Miami. But the measurements that you see are from combine statistics. And have you noticed everybody either gains an inch or loses an inch? But Dylan Sampson, since he's a Tennessee player, he's going to go probably in the second or third round. Right here, I show him in the first round, but I don't think he's going that high. I think he's going to be bumped out by Amari Hamilton. And so right now, most of the draft boards has Amari and Hamilton going right behind Ashton Jeanty. So that's the story on the running backs. Wide receivers, Travis Hunter didn't run at the pro day, so that 40 time is a premature indication of action how fast he ran. I know I got his weight and height close to where he is, but it looks like the first true wide receiver off the board is going to be Teteora McMillan from Arizona. And his measurables are real close to 6'4", 220 pounds. And then, of course, Mecca Igbuka from Ohio State, Luther Burden from Missouri, and then Matthew Golden. Now, Matthew Golden has moved up quite a bit in the rankings because of that 4.29 40. And so these guys, it's going to be a run later on in the draft for those first round receivers that I have picked here. And this is a pretty good wide receiver draft also. So you're going to see a lot of guys that you thought were first rounders go in the second, third, and fourth round. Let's look at the tight ends. Right now, it's 2 tight ends that's going in the first round. That's Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland from Michigan. Both of these guys are real good blockers and big-time pass catchers. The skill sets are similar to both Tyler Warren and Loveland. Now, another kid that could push into the first round, Elijah Arroyo of Miami. He could push into the first round. And then Harold Fanning is a great pass catcher out of Bowling Green University. He could get into that first round. And then the guy that's rising up pretty fast is Mason Taylor. Now, Mason Taylor, from what all the experts say, was not utilized to his fullest extent at LSU. And he's going to be a great pass catcher in the NFL. And he's got the pedigree, you know, as his father, Jason Taylor, played like 14, 15 years in the NFL as a defensive end. So we'll just see what happens. But I think your top 2 tight ends will be gone in that first round. And like I said, Elijah Arroyo, Harold Fanning, or Mason Taylor could pop into the first round also. And then centers. Center is a position that you usually don't see anyone go in the first round. But right now, Jake Majors of Texas is subject to go in the fourth round. Jarrett Wilson right behind him, and Jonah Manheim is right behind him. And then Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State, he's been picked to be a fifth rounder. So just looking at it, like I said, there's not a lot of value in centers this year, but you could see one move up the ladder and go in the second round, just depending on what team needs are. And let's look at offensive tackles. There's going to be a run with offensive tackles in the draft. Right now, I got Kevin Banks at number 1, but he's sliding. And I think it's because his arms are so short. But I still believe he's going to be a first rounder. The top 2 tackles right now are Josh Simmons, Will Campbell, and Armand Mimbo I got him from LSU, but he's from Missouri. And I'll change that as I move those people up. But I really do believe Will Campbell or Josh Simmons are going to be the first 2 come off the board in the draft. But you may see a run of like 4 or 5 offensive tackles go in the first round. And then guards, right now, there's probably 2 going in the first round, and that's Tyler Booker and Donovan Jackson from Ohio State, as well as Booker from Alabama. Jackson has a lot of versatility. He played guard normally at Ohio State, but when the offensive tackle on the left side was hurt, he was able to move over there and didn't have any degradation in performance. And so I think he's going to go in the first round and possibly be one of those versatile players where he can play left tackle, right tackle, or guard. Looking at edge rushers, overwhelmingly, unanimously, Abdul Carter is the number 1 overall pick as the edge rusher. And then you got Michael Williams from Georgia right behind him. And then, of course, Mike Green. Now, Tyler Barron had a real good pro day, and he had a real good combine day. And I got him going in the first or second round, but Jalen Walker's probably going to go in front of him. And then James Pierce has slid on a lot of draft boards, but I still believe he may go in the latter or the bottom of the draft. I'm talking 27 or 28. He slid a long ways down. And that's another story when you look at his slide. And then Nick Scouton was not very productive, even though his measurables are outstanding. He still could go in the first round. So it's a whole lot of skepticism when you look at the first or the last 3 or 4 people on this chart here that I have that's going in the first round. So most of them could be second rounders. And just depending on how the draft flows, could be third. And then defensive tackles, unanimously, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, both Michigan tackles, are the 2 top tackles in the draft. They're bona fide first-round picks. Walter Nolan is still at the bottom of the first round in the majority of the draft boards. And we'll just have to look and see what happens. Now, Derek Harmon, who's down here at the bottom from Oregon, he is moving up. He's moving up, and he could be in that first round. He's really done well for himself. And of course, Omar Norman Lott, a Tennessee player, he's probably a second or third rounder. He's not going to be in the first round. But all that can change with 20 days left. And then defensive backs, of course, Travis Hunter is a dual threat. He's going to be in the first round and in the top 5. Will Johnson is the best true corner out of Michigan. And then you got Jaden Barron out of Texas, another real good corner. Now, these times that we have here came from the combine, and some of them came from pro days. But Siobhan Rebel from East Carolina is getting a lot of votes and respect to go in the first round. So I'm thinking it's going to be at least 4 or 5 corners going in the first round. And then looking at safety prospects, Malachi Starks is going to be a first rounder, and Nick Amon-Warrior is going to be a first rounder, if not at the top of the second round. And then let's look at the inside linebackers, Sam and Will guys. Jahi Campbell is a first rounder. And of course, Carson Schlesinger from UCLA, a lot of draft boards got him on in the first round, along with Barrett Carter from Clemson and Shamel Mondon from Georgia. And then that should be it for my top draft prospects. I'm going to update this and probably present it back to you again later on at the end of this week or at the beginning of next week. Now let's look at the big event. Here is my mock draft 1.0. All right. Okay, the first round is all I have to give you. I'm not going to probably go into the second or third round with my mock, but I got the Tennessee Titans picking Cameron Ward out of Miami, number 1 overall. Got Abdul Carter going number 2 to the Cleveland Browns. And then Shedeur Sanders going number 3 to the New York Giants. Now, it's some parameters surrounding that second and third round pick and that could occur on the draft day. One is Shedeur Sanders could go number 2 to Cleveland. Or Shedeur Sanders could still go to the New York Giants. And then the third thing is Shedeur Sanders could fall all the way down to 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or he could fall down to the New York Jets. But that's just the way things are going, and the way everybody's jogging around. And then, of course, if the Titans trade out of number one, it could throw the whole entire draft off the charts. But anyway, got Shedeur Sanders going to New York Giants, and they got Travis Hunter also out of Colorado going to the New England Patriots. And just about every draft board that I've looked at, and of course my draft guides that I've bought and purchased to do my studies on this draft, has Travis Hunter going to the New England Patriots. And then number 5 overall, Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. Ashton Jenney is more or less unanimously going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then Tyler Warren, big tight end out of Penn State, he's headed to the Jets in the first round. Edge rusher Jalen Walker is going to be the first edge off the board next to Abdul Carter, and he's going to the Carolina Panthers. And then Jackson Dart, I have him going to the New Orleans Saints at number 9. Now that's another one that could fluctuate. Jackson Dart could drop all the way down to 21 and the Pittsburgh Steelers pick him up, or he could still get drafted right there by New Orleans Saints at number 9. Michael Williams, that's the wrong height and weight on him, but he is going at number 10 to Jacksonville. He's an edge rusher. He's like 6'1", 245 pounds. So that's a mistake there. And then at number 11 pick, the 49ers is picking Armand Mimbo out of Missouri, offensive tackle. And then the 12th overall pick, Marion Hamilton, North Carolina running back, going to the Cowboys. And then some news on the Cowboys. The Cowboys traded with New England yesterday to get Big Joe Milton from New England for I think it was a 7th round pick. So they sent a 5th round pick to New England, where the Cowboys gets a 7th rounder and Joe Milton to be the backup to the quarterback there at Dallas. So that's big news. So congrats to Joe Milton. He's getting a chance to be a full-blown backup at the Cowboys organization. And then so we got Will Campbell, another offensive tackle, LSU, going to the Dolphins. Colston Loveland going to the Colts. Defensive end, edge rusher, linebacker Michael Green from Marshall going to the Atlanta Falcons. And then we got Will Johnson, defensive back, going to the Arizona Cardinals. And Nick Emmanuel, a big safety, going to the Denver Broncos. And then linebacker Jihad Campbell going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Check that. Nick Emmanuel, Seattle Seahawks. And then Jihad Campbell to Alabama And then Territory McMillan, wide receiver, going to the Denver Broncos. And defensive tackle Derek Harmon out of Oregon, going to the Steelers. And then Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas, going to the Los Angeles Chargers. And then at number 23, wide receiver Emeka Ibuka, going to the Green Bay Packers. And Jade Barron, the cornerback out of Penn State, going to the Minnesota Vikings. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, going to the Houston Texans, and at number 25. And then defensive back Azari Thomas out of Florida State, going to the Rams. Safety Malachi Starks out of Georgia, and he's going to can't make out that helmet. Looks like the Ravens. And then James Pierce, defensive end, edge rusher, at number 28, going to the Detroit Lions. Defensive back Maxwell Harrison, going to the Washington Commanders at number 29. And then defensive tackle Kenneth Grant from Michigan, going to the Buffalo Bills. And then Kevin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas, going to the Kansas City Chiefs. And last but not least, at number 32, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, going to the Eagles. Now, all of this is subject to change, but some of it may be right and some of it may not be right. But we just have to see how everything flows. And that's basically my NFL show for today. My next show, I'm going to go back to college and bring you some more info on basketball and some football. You know, you got the transfer portal going in basketball right now. You got the transfer portal getting ready to open up on the 22nd of April for football. And you got money flowing all over the place. You got rumors all over the place. You got agents tampering all over the place. You got coaches all over the country trying to get players. You have teams that's doing 100% rebuilds of their roster. Just give you an example of that. University of Indiana lost their whole entire basketball team to the portal. So that happens when you fire a coach who's well liked by his players. Then all those players are going to leave. So that's what the story is. Right now. And then to finish up, talking about the Titans, the Tennessee Titans, reason why I keep saying it's a done deal for Cam Ward, because the ownership, the general manager, the president, and the head coach already had an individual meeting with him already. And so, like I said, Shedeur Sanders, who's right there with Cam Ward, in my opinion, he's working out today in his pro day. From what I understand, representatives from all 32 teams we'll be out there, and we'll just see what happens. But anyway, the next show, I'm going to go right back to college, and we're going to look at Memphis, and we're going to look at Tennessee like we always do, and we're going to look a little bit at Tennessee State. And that's going to end this show. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next show.